An NBC poll conducted in 2019 found that almost 40% of Americans are unhappy with the current two-party system. Why is this statistic so high, yet nothing has been done to change? This belief that we must vote either for the Republican or the Democratic Party is why thousands of unfit leaders have come to power. Many Americans vote with the principle of the lesser evil. This is where they may not necessarily even like the candidate they're voting for, but since they hate the alternative that much more, they're justified in their voting. And this is not the characteristic of a government by and for the people, which the United States is supposed to be. I'm not a political scientist, and just this year I've gained the right to vote. Even I am sick and tired of Washington's inability to function properly, and I'm sure many of you are tired of our government as well. My speech will focus on the early days of political parties, the long history of corruption in the political system, and lastly, what we can do to change this. Political parties have been forming since the beginning of our nation. There is evidence of political interest groups forming in the Continental Congress long before our nation even gained independence. The divisive nature of these parties garnered the attention of our first president, George Washington, who spent most of his presidency trying to quell political fires. In Washington's farewell address conducted in 1796, he gave the nation a stern warning on political parties. He said that political parties may now and then answer popular ends. They are likely in the cause of time and things to become potent engines by which cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men will be enabled to subvert the power of the people and usurp for themselves the reins of government. Washington, however, was ignored, and the political division that would follow would split the nation in half, both literally and figuratively. This would create the conflict we know today as the Civil War. We see the Civil War as a conflict between Northerners and Southerners, but really it was a conflict between Northern Republicans and Southern Democrats. And the war began in Washington long before shots were fired at Fort Sumter. This conflict would result in over 750,000 Americans dead. This is more war deaths than any other conflict in American history. Of course, the outcome of the Civil War was a positive one, and we truly can have a land of the free when millions are enslaved. But this serves a deadly reminder of the consequences of a politically divided nation, and we see evidence of this across the world, not just ours. Another reason you shouldn't put your faith in the political system is its long history of corruption. The two major parties for years have controlled the elections. Because of their lobbyists, their corporate donors in exchange for political favors, the Republicans and Democrats have raised ungodly fortunes to support their campaigns. They use these fortunes to capture the attention of the entire nation, making hundreds of qualified candidates fade into obscurity. What can we do to change this? First, we can become more informed voters. We should research the less likely candidates that don't show up on most ballots and make the best decision based upon our values. Second, we could start considering third-party solutions. There's been this misconception that the third party is essentially wasting your vote, but many Americans vote for candidates they don't even support. So is it really wasting your vote to vote for someone you actually align with? And most importantly, I'm not trying to tell anyone how to vote. I just simply am wanting people to become more informed voters and to vote based upon people's perfect personal values and not for political parties' lines. There's no one forcing anybody to vote for either the Republican or the Democratic Party. They've just created this illusion that we must vote for one of their parties. And as a people, we can take control of the reins of government once again and start voting for people based upon personal merit and not for because they're a puppet of one of the major parties or not. Thank you. We also have my PowerPoint presentation. It's not much. It's really just background pictures to catalyze what I'm talking about. This first slide, the title slide, and then we have this first slide showing a map of the United States split during the Civil War to show the division. And then we just have a cartoon to show conflict between the two parties.